to Back to Church Sunday. How many are here because you've been invited? Ooh, one or two. How many are here because you heard it was Back to Church Sunday? One or two. That's good. Well, this is the bit, I suppose, where I have to persuade you that coming back to church is worthwhile and something that we ought to be doing. Well, I looked in my photographs the other day and I saw a photograph of me as a child. I was sitting with one other young lad surrounded by 80 girls. It was because my parents, when I was younger, decided that I ought to go to dancing classes. Little boys do not go to dancing classes, apparently. But I was taught to do tap dancing and things. Unfortunately, I cannot remember how to tap dance. And consequently, I cannot entertain you with a quick shuffle across the altar here. So I'm sorry if you've come looking for entertainment, I can't give it to you. I can hopefully, or we can hopefully, make our services a little more accessible and friendly and understandable. But we can't make them every time you step into the door an entertainment. I'm also not a magician, although looking back in my toys when I was younger, I did have a magic wand. I think it belonged to Sooty of Sooty and Sweep, if you remember those days. Unfortunately, I cannot say, "Izzy Wizzy, let's get busy," and change your lives. I cannot take away the difficulties, the hurts, and the pains which you all face. I pray to God sometimes that we could, but we cannot, and the church is not here to perform that sort of magic that changes people's lives in that way. So what is it here to do? It's here to do basically two things. To engender a sense of community in which we can all live as human beings to fulfill our potential. And the second is to engender a feeling of God, whereby we know that we were created by a God who has a purpose and a meaning for every one of us, and who loves each and every one of us, down to the very hairs numbered on our head. So what does that sense of community actually mean? Well, we live in a very strange world, do we not? In a very strange world where, not so long ago, we heard about financial disaster for our country. We heard that the banks were going bankrupt and that the economy was failing, and we're still living with that. The difficulty is we could be living with that for 1 or 2 generations. And it's interesting, isn't it, that we put our faith in money and external things as we are hearing in those readings today. Well, if you come to church, we don't really judge by money, by clothing, by what you have, or the positions you hold. Yes, we'll celebrate with you. There's nothing wrong with having them. But when I look at a congregation gathered here today, I see a group of human beings. And it doesn't matter who, how, what, or where. I see a group of human beings who are struggling very often simply to be human, that is, struggling because of the difficulties of life. And here we don't judge people because they have the best clothes or the best jobs. We actually judge you for being you and ask you to join in, to be part of a community, rich, poor, successful or failing. You're acceptable in this place. We won't even ask you about it. Hopefully what we'll ask you about is your day good? What can we do to help? Tell us your story if you want to. Well, what about the rest of the world? We hear about those politicians of late. Have you been following the Brothers Miliband? Seem to be in the news of late, do they not? Well, not so long ago, if you remember, we were listening to the fact that many of our politicians were perhaps claiming more on their expenses than they should. Perhaps we no longer believe as we ought to in political life. Well, I can't actually sort that out for you, but I can offer a different way of seeing things and a different way of being here. Here, when we come together, we do have arguments and row about things. That's part of being human. but we also agree to come together and to sort our problems out, to become friends in the end and to move on, to build a better world and a better place in which we can actually fulfill all our potential. There are two types of democracy, if you want to look at it properly. There is classical democracy, where the power of the loudest voice always prevails, and it doesn't mean it's always right. Or there's Christian democracy, which says when we come together and we try to make decisions, and we're unbiased and unselfish, and where we're actually educated and have bothered to learn something, then perhaps we can make decisions which speak of God. So I can offer you that if you come here into this place. Debate and encouragement and trying to discern a way forward for this, our community. So I can't change politics. I can't change money. I can't change all sorts of things like that. And one of the saddest things I heard was a group of young people talking together. And they said, goodness me, the older generation, aren't they silly? They believe in trust and honesty and all those things. Well, how sad for them that they don't believe in trust and honesty and all those things. They must live in a world where they actually are forever trying to hurt each other or step on each other or use each other. I can offer you here a different set of principles where we do not hurt or use or step on each other, but where we work together. Is that the sort of society and place you want? Then yes, it should be here. It isn't always in the world outside. We would like to change that world. We would like it to be more Christ-like. The second important thing, of course, is that sense of God in our lives. Very often we get up and we look in the mirror and we think to ourselves, what's the meaning of it all? Why am I here? Nobody listens, nobody cares. What's it all about? And yet I can offer you that sense that God has created each and every one of you. That it isn't a random universe where things happen by chance, but it's a world and universe which are governed by God. And God created each and every one of you because he meant to create each and every one of you. And his will for you is not to catch you out and make you feel small or insignificant. His will for you is not to stop you enjoying in life. His will for you is for you to become the best that you can be. His will for you is that you grow and are nurtured and nurture each other, and that you become all that you want to be and he wanted you to be, to fulfill the potential which is in each and every one of you. If that's the sort of world you want, where you know you're loved, where you know you have purpose, then that's what we have to offer here as you come back to church. It strikes me that we all have choices. From time to time we dip in. Sometimes we need things on a regular basis. Sometimes those things are our mainstay. You're welcome here on a regular basis, from time to time, or when you're simply in need. This is your church. We work with you because we love you, because that is God's purpose for us. So welcome back to this place on a permanent basis, on a regular basis, or occasionally. God bless you all.